And we are live. Hello, everybody. My name is Kenneth. And with me here, I have Duarte, who is a software developer at AMC Banking. And for this webinar, we're going to talk about approvers in XTendLink. As always, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can see in the down right, you have this questions tab. So you can just write whenever you feel like it, and we're going to try to answer your questions as good as possible. And yeah, so if we could just start out with, this is for approvers in the XTendLink. And I'm sure not everybody knows exactly what XTendLink is. So Duarte, could you just maybe give a short introduction? What is XTendLink exactly?
Yeah, so even if you are one of our clients in one of the solutions for the ERP systems, Business Central or Finance Operations, you will always have XTendLink in the background because XTendLink is the core of our solutions. Everything that we do goes through an XTendLink someplace in the chain. And it works for many different things. Most of the actual work is done on XTendLink. And even if you work on our solutions of the ERP systems, you might need to go back to XTendLink, particularly if you have to set up some settings, or in this case, approvers.
Thank you so much. So let's just start off with, what are approvers exactly?
Yeah, so approvers is something that sometimes is not very easy to define, but simply stated, an approver is a user of XTendLink with approval rights, meaning that it's someone that can approve payments or import statements from a particular bank.
Thank you. So if approvers are users, then who can become a user and how can I set it up?
So users are the way we define how the different people using XTendLink can, which accesses and permissions they have. So a different person in a company will have a different user, and you can set up for each individual user what pages they can access and what permissions they have. And to set up, usually the easiest way, there are many different ways, but usually the easiest way is to go to your My Account page by clicking your name, and you'll see a list of users down on the page, and you can just press the new button. And then you have to create a new login that's unique, email for the user that's also unique, and then the name of the person. And then you can always also pick here the roles this user will have.
Thank you so much. So speaking about approver rights, how do I exactly get approver rights for XTendLink?
So approver rights are a concept defining whether you can or cannot approve payments on a certain bank. So for instance, if I go to one of the banks in this demo, I can show that for Yuska, there are 4 users with approval. And you can also see there are different levels of approval. You have the approval A rule and B rule. And you also have approval admins and normal approvers. To create new approvers or to give a user approval rights, there are, again, different ways. Usually the simplest is to go into the bank and press create approver. And here you can just add the username and the email of the user. If this login and email do not exist, a new account, a new user will be created. And in both cases, that person will get an email to set up the password. Another way to do it is if you go to the users and select the user you want to give the approval rights to, and go to the tab called approval rights, and you can press new and select which bank you want to add and which rule you want to add the approver to. And then you need to approve the next steps, and the user needs to confirm their password.
Sounds easy. So could you just quickly go through what are exactly approval admins?
So approver admins are the users that have the permissions to create new approvers. So a normal approver can only approve payments or import statements from the bank. An approver with approver admin and if I change to this user, you can see that this checkbox is marked. It means that they can create new approvers, they can manage the existing approvers, and they can even delete approvers that have disappeared from the company, for instance.
Right. So if I'm an administrator in the ERP system, can I then approve payments?
Not precisely. There are two different things. An administrator, both on the ERP system and on XTendLink, means that you have access to the settings of both systems, but that will not give you permission to approve payments by default. If you want to also be able to approve payments, you have to be given the approver rights to that particular bank.
Okay. So an approver has roles and rights, right?
Yeah.
So what exactly is the difference between these two?
Yeah, the concepts might be a bit confusing at first. So approver rights, as mentioned before, are what defines who can approve payments from the bank. And it's the only thing it does. Each bank has their own set of approvers with approver rights. So for instance, if I go to this bank, these are the users that have approver rights to the bank. But then if I go to any of the users, you will see on the left corner the roles. And the roles define what permissions and what accesses you have, meaning what can you do inside of XTendLink and what pages can you see inside of XTendLink. For instance, an administrator in XTendLink can access this menu of setup with all the XTendLink settings. A manager can create new users. A viewer can view the bank accounts. And also, an important thing is that a user with approver rights can approve payments. But for instance, if I go to a payment that can be approved, if they don't have the approval role, they will not see the screen. And if they only have the approval role and do not have the approval rights, they will see the screen, but they will not be able to approve the payment. It will be rejected when they try to enter the password.
Okay, thank you, Eduard. So we have a question from Laut Nielsen, and he's asking, do you need to create approvers for each individual entity?
The approvals are on the bank level. So every bank needs its own set of approvers, but multiple accounts in the same bank use the same approvers. There are ways to get more granularity if you want to have a different set of approvers for each bank account, but that is a topic of our next webinar, which is approval groups. So if you want to learn how to have more control over your approvers, check out the next webinar.
Great. So just so you know, Lau, you also have another question saying, can you create custom roles with custom rights?
Right now, the roles are only on our side. So if none of the roles we have is the correct one for you, you can try contacting us and to see if there's something to be done or if we actually have to change XTendLink. But we don't support any custom roles from the user side.
Great. I hope that answered your question, Lau. Else, let us know in the chat. So something I'm sure a lot of our customers have come through is this A and B rule.
Yeah.
Could you please just go through what exactly is the A and B rule?
Yeah, sure. To explain the difference between A and B rule is also useful to understand how we secure the approval process. So we have a cryptographic key, and to approve a payment, you need the key in its entirety to approve the payment. And the difference between A rule and B rule is if a certain user has all the pieces of that key to be able to approve the payment. In A rule, for instance, this user called demo A1 is in A rule, which means that he has all the pieces of the key, which means that he can approve payments by itself. On the other hand, approvers in B rule, like demo B1 and B2, have only half of the keys, which means if they try to approve a payment, they will another approval will be required. And the other approver can be another user in B rule or any user in A rule, because A rule always can approve anything.
Great, thank you. So,
sorry, just to remember that we strongly advise everyone to use B rule as it's much safer.
note that down.
Yeah.
So can I approve payments in any other way than you just explained here?
Yeah, of course. We don't expect everyone to just use XTendLink to approve payments. Most of our users are actually using our ERP solutions. And obviously, you can always approve payments through your PSC solutions. You simply introduce your login name and your XTendLink password. So your XTendLink name and XTendLink password, not the one from the ERP system. And that will be sent to XTendLink and it will approve the payment. Another solution that is more recent is our XTendLink app that you can find in both Android and iOS shops. And that was a topic of our previous webinar. And in our app, you can approve payments wherever you are if you have access to your phone, which means that, for instance, if you are in a work trip or away from the computer, you can approve payments if there's a need for that.
Thank you so much. Well, I hope we covered all the material about approvers and XTendLink. If we didn't, please let us know. And of course, we will answer all your questions. So that's actually what we have for you guys today. So now is the time for our questions. So if you have any, then let us know and we will try to answer them as good as possible. Henrik asks, how can you remove approver admin rights from a user?
To remove approver admin rights, you need another user with approver admin, and any admin can remove rights to the other admins. There's no different levels of admins. And again, if the admins are in B rule, you need 2 admins in B rule to approve any changes to the approvers.
Great. Hope that answered your question, Henrik. Like every time, this webinar is going to go on our YouTube. So if for some reason you couldn't join today, you can always just watch our YouTube channel. And like Duarte just said, we're going to have another webinar in 2 weeks about approval groups.
Yeah.
So make sure to sign up for that as well if you want to learn more about approval groups, which I'm sure a lot of people want to. Let's see how it's writing again.
While we wait, I can also, one of the common questions about approvers is what happens if, for instance, one of your approvers left the company and you forgot to add a new approver. If you have 2 approver admins with B rule or 1 approver admin with A rule, you can add new approvers as I've shown you before. If you don't have approver admins, you will unfortunately have to create a new connection to the bank, a new key. And that is not part of the topic of this webinar, but it's not a hard thing to do. We have the information on our website. And again, if you need any help, you can just contact us by email or by phone, and we'll help you as fast as we can.
Yes. And like Henrik also writes, do you have any guides for this? Yes, we have our knowledge base on our website, amcbanking.com. So if you go to support and knowledge base, there should be a whole segment about XTendLink. And then we also have about users and approvers, how you set them up, and also about our mobile app. And if this for some reason doesn't fulfill your questions, then you can, like Duarte just said, you can always write to us at info@amcbanking.com or give us a call, and we will try to solve this.
And you'll always have access to our webinars and past presentations to see how it's done live.
Yes. And of course, also our service desk. You can always write to our support department and they'll try their best to answer your questions. Yeah, I think that was the last question. Unless anybody else has something. Doesn't look like it. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed our little webinar, and let us know if you have any improvements or comments. This is a kind of a new format we're trying out here. So we're just, again, in the starting phase. So we're going to try out new formats and stuff. So we hope you
give us feedback.
Exactly. We hope you appreciate that. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys, for joining in, and we'll see you next time.
Soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys.